we also have. If we look together at shapes, as I mentioned, these shapes are used in high-level work, and it's very important work, but only for those who can handle shapes and understand their properties, which are all simple things. It's not like using high-end graphic programs like After Effects or anything like that. Everything is quite simple, not Photoshop or Illustrator or anything. So let's create another shape. I'll remove this one and we'll bring in a shape. We know that from the insert menu, we can create the rectangle that you see. Right now, I see a rectangle. I can tilt it a bit like this and make it look like this. I can trim its edges and pull from one part and come like this. It's not like using high-end graphic programs. Everything is quite simple, not Photoshop. So let's create another shape. I'll remove it and bring a shape. We know, of course, that from the insert menu, we can create the rectangle that you see. I see a rectangle. I can tilt it and make it look like this. I can trim edges and pull from one part. I can make it smaller from the right or adjust height from the bottom. But other than that, I don't have anything. Now, when you want to create illustrative shapes for your students and you want to make a specific shape, you can right-click on the shape, which is the rectangle that you see. I see a rectangle now. For example, I bring it like this. I tilt it a little like this. I make it like this shape. For example, I cut its edges from them and I come out of the part and I come like this. I can come from the right and make it smaller on the right side, or I can come from the bottom and adjust its height or width. But other than that, I don't have anything. Now, when you want to create illustrative shapes for your students and you want to make a specific shape, you can right-click on the shape. Okay, after we right-clicked, what do you notice here? You'll notice that it shows you something called edit points here. Do you see that? What do I want to do? I want to edit the points or the selection points. This is what I want to work with to give me the ability to modify the shape. So you won't be able to edit the shape until these points themselves change their properties. Now, when you click on edit points, look at what happened. The white points that were there are no longer present. Now I have a black square point here and here and here. The white circular points have changed, and even the border or the outer frame has turned red. Do you see that? This means that I can now go to any of these black points, click on it and move it. You see, I can move it up or I can move it down however I want. If I let go of my hand, the shape changes. What does it do? It modifies these points. So when you click on edit points here, look at what happened. The white points that were there are no longer present. Now I have a black square point here and here and here. The white circular points have changed. Even the border or the outer frame has turned red. This means that I can now go to any of these black points, click on it and move it. I can move it up or down as I wish. If I release, the shape changes. It changes the way I want it. I can come here and change the shape like this and adjust it as I wish. But then I'll notice that I still have the same issue. The only changes I can make are through the 4 points that are where they are at the corners. Now I want a point in the middle. I want a black square in the center so I can pull from it and adjust. What should I do? You go to the spot where you want to make the effect, right click again and say add point. I want to add a point. I can change the shape as I want, adjusting it freely. However, the issue remains. Changes are limited to the 4 corner points. I need a middle point, a black square in the center to adjust from. What should I do? Right click where you want the effect and select add point. I want to add a point, so I right click and choose add point. Adding a point here gives me a black square. Initially, there were 4 points. Now I want a 5th and a 6th point in the highlighted red area. What should I do? It's a change through the 4 points located at the corners. I want a point in the middle, a black square in the center to adjust. What should I do? Right-click where you want the effect and say Add Point. I want to add a point. Instead of 4 black points, I add one here. Right-click and say Add Point. What happens? It gives me a black square. I had 1, 2, 3, and 4 points. Now I want a 5th and a 6th point in the highlighted red area. What should I do? I come to it and it adds another point. Why add here? To click and pull, adjusting the shape up or down. The effect comes from it. Also, instead of having 4 black points, I want to add a point here. So I right click and say add point. What happens when I right click here and add a point? It gives me a black square here. So I had 1 here, 2 here, 3 here, and 4 here. Those are the 4 points. Now I want to add a 5th point. I also want to add a 6th point up here in this area that I highlighted in red. What should I do? I come to it, and when I did that, what happened? It added another point here. Why am I adding this point? So I can click on it and pull. I want the effect to come from it, to adjust the shape from it, up or down. So the effect comes from it. So that's it. This is the part I wanted to clarify for you. When you want to edit any shape, you can do it this way. For any edit to a shape, you can modify it through the points. You need to edit the point to get the black points, and then you can add any point you like. Again, so let's quickly go over it for you again. Let's bring any shape. Here is any shape. Then I can click and say edit points. It will give me points. Do you see that? I brought the shape like this. I created the shape like this. But I want to add another point. At the bottom, right click. And of course, what do I do and work? I edit the point. Then I right click here and say add point. Add it below. I can start moving and adjusting it in any shape I like. So what can I do? What shapes I like, I can do it just like you see it. This is regarding the part about working with shapes. Dealing with chips is a fun and beautiful deal, and I will prepare for you what you can. As we say, you can create the shapes you like, just like a piece of glass or a piece that you adjust its shape to fit a certain design or make it in a certain way. And you'll end up with very beautiful shapes. I hope that editing shapes is clear to you all. I hope it is clear to you because we will benefit from it, and you'll see it even if you're searching on the net and looking at any projects. You'll find a lot of it. A lot of people working on projects that involve editing shapes. Working with shapes has a lot of applications, and this is an important aspect. I hope it's clear to you all because we will benefit from it. And you'll see it even if you're doing any search on the net and looking at any projects. You'll find a lot of it. A lot of people working on projects that involve editing shapes. Working with shapes has a lot of applications, and this is an important aspect.